Hello, so here we are in the garden and we're going to have a look today at panoramas, perfect panoramas. So what I've actually got here is my 7200, doesn't really matter what camera you've got, but I've got the 10mm lens on. So this is a really wide lens. Now of course not everybody's got a 10mm lens, so sometimes you can't just get it all in. So you might need to do a panorama. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this sort of several different methods to do a panorama, from the quick and easy to more complicated type of things. Okay, so with my lens here, I'm going to do these freehand to start with my lens here at 10mm, then we'll see what we can get in. I'll pop this picture up on screen afterwards, so we're just going to go click, and we've got a shot quite wide angle, but of course most people would not have a 10mm lens. If we think about what most people have got, they've got something in the region of maybe a 18 to 270, or the 18 to 400. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this lens at its other zoom, which is 20. So that's actually a little bit shorter or a little bit longer than most people have got. Okay, and now when I take a picture, I try and take the same picture, and you'll see that I really can't get kind of a huge amount in. So the next thing then is to consider a panorama. Now the quickest and easiest way to do a panorama is, particularly on a day like today where it's quite overcast, you've just got to be careful sometimes if you're doing panoramas on a bright sunny day and you're looking towards the light, because if the sun's in this direction here, which it would be if the sun was out, then what would happen is that area would be brighter than this area over here, and on aperture priority the exposure might change throughout those shots. But today it's quite overcast, so we shouldn't really have a problem. So all I need to do is put it on aperture priority, choose a reasonable aperture, so sort of f11, f16, and very simply, my lens now is at 20. I'll show you the shot that we get at 20, but if I turn the camera this way, let me do a panorama with the camera horizontal, and I'm going to go, let's try 11 actually, there we go, with the camera horizontal, and we're going to go click, click, and click. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll stitch those together afterwards. But now what I'm going to try and do, which is better, is to turn the camera into portrait orientation. And what this allows me to do is get more foreground and more at the top. So remember, my lens is still at 20, so we're going to go click. Now the important thing with a panorama, is to ensure that you overlap enough. Around about 40 to 50% is a good idea. Okay, so around about 40-50%. So there's two quick methods. So the quick and easy horizontal panorama, long skinny picture. Vertical panorama, so you're doing the panorama this way, then you're going to get sort of more in that shot, you're going to get more ground in, you're going to get more sky in, so that could be quite useful. Right. The next one we're going to look at is a multiple row panorama. So multiple rows, and I'm still here on handheld, so because let's face it guys, quite often if you're on holiday, they're the kind of shots you take. And so you could do these on a tripod, better on a tripod, but I'm just going to do them handheld. Alright, so for this one, this is a multi-row. I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm tilting down, you'll notice, and we're going to go click, 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 and click. Then I'm going to go up, click, 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 click. And it's always worth taking an extra shot. Go a little bit wider than you think you might need, because you will end up chopping some corners off. Now I could do all of those shots on a tripod. I'm just doing this like this for speed, and I would probably recommend doing it on a tripod. Now if your subject is a reasonable distance away, so if it's a landscape or something like that, then it should work quite well. But the problem we have is if you've got objects quite close, and I expect that there could be issues with this table being here in the foreground and maybe even the camera being in the foreground. and that is because of something called parallax error. Parallax error is easy to kind of, you can do this yourself, you can see what parallax error is basically happens because your tripod bush is level with the center column, but the parallax point, what's called the parallax point, or the nodal point, is actually somewhere towards the middle front of your lens. So when you are rotating your tripod around the center point, then it's a bit like doing this. And as you see, where I'm looking now, as I'm looking at the camera, and as I move backwards and forwards, I can see different things, you know, relative to the camera position. It's like looking around the camera. But of course, the problem is because the camera is seeing different things in each picture, it can get a little bit confused. So there's a piece of kit called a nodal head, and what a nodal head does is it brings the camera back, so it's like a rail, and you can actually have your camera turned this way, and what it does is it brings the camera back so that it is along this point here. So the nodal point is across the lens, not in the tripod bush. And if you do that, then you're likely to get better panoramas. Okay? So those things are quite expensive. So there is a trick that you can use to kind of get around not having that head, because they are quite expensive. It's as simple as a shoelace. So all we do is we take a shoelace and we put it around our lens at around about, you know, sort of just slightly forward of the lens there, so just come forward a wee bit. So around about there, that's probably about the nodal point for this lens. We're guessing a bit, okay? And then you want to put that, so we're going to work horizontally again, and what you want to do is you want to put that over the top of your center column. And then what you're doing is you're rotating, so we're going to go click, bit of guesswork going on here, guys, but you could use your live view screen. There you go. So what you're doing is you're rotating your camera. There you go. You're rotating the camera around the nodal point as opposed to around the tripod bush. Yeah? So if you do that, that is a better way of getting good panoramas. Now if you haven't got a tripod, you can still do it, but just kind of, you know, what you've got to do, the good trick is to put your camera into live view. So I'm going to take a picture each time now so I can see. So all you can see, I'm kind of locked up in position here, and we're just going to go click, move it, good overlap, at least 50%, click, good overlap, click, good overlap, click. So you see, obviously, and that's probably not the most stable position to hold your camera still. In fact, I might do that last one again. Felt a bit shaky. There we go. And so what we'll do is we'll pop indoors now, and I'll stitch those together, and we'll see just how we've done. So here we are again, we're back outside now, and as you can see, I've changed the setup and we are on a tripod. So this is the nodal head, and you can see basically what the nodal head does is it positions the camera back so it's off the center column, and it also moves it kind of this way, and it's got adjustable sliders. I won't move them because it's actually set up at the correct position, but basically what you do is you've got these two rails that go backwards and go to the side, and what you do is you rotate those and you move those sliders until the nodal point of the lens is above the center column. Okay, so what I'm going to do on this shot is I'm actually going to do the multiple row panorama, but I'm going to use the head, and I'm also using a cable release, obviously, so we don't get any camera shake and that type of thing. And I've also got the camera on manual exposure. So the reason I put the camera on manual exposure for this one is because I know that I'm going to be doing a shot that's going to get quite a lot of sky in, and so if I don't use manual exposure, what will happen is I will get different exposures as I do the top row on the panorama that I will get at the bottom row, and that can cause problems when you come to stitch them together, because you know sort of these exposures are different, so things are lighter and darker, and that can cause issues. So I've just got this set up in its level orientation at the moment, so all I need to do is to undo. I've got a locking screw just here. If I show you this side, I can undo this locking screw and I can point this down. So what I'm going to do is I want to get the kind of the whole of the table in, and we'll come over here. There we go. And I've just locked that off now, and you can see it is sort of quite wobbly, you know, particularly because it's on a ball head as well. Normally what I would probably do is put this directly onto the tripod base, and the benefit of that, it's taking one connection out and it's just going to solidify everything quite a bit as well. So I've got it set up, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a panorama going round. So click the first one, there we go. Now the important thing again is just make sure that you overlap by about 50%. Now this head, this is sort of a pano head, and it's actually got little clicks. So as I move it, I know that I need to move it 2 clicks for it to go to the next position. So that makes life quite easy and quite quick. There's my 2 clicks. Again, just wait a second or two after moving it. There we go. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but the sun's just come out. So I'm going to get ready for the next shot, and all I'm going to do is go back from where I am. So move up. Again, you need to make sure you've got about 50% overlap. There we go. And I'll just come around here, make sure we've got the whole of the building in, which we have. Yep. In fact, I'll start this side again just so I know where I finished. That was where I was. That's where I'm going to. There we go. In fact, I might go mad. Let's do 3 rows. Let's go over the top, shall we? So we'll do a mid-range row as well. Just let that sun go in. Obviously, in this scenario here, you don't want to be doing half of your pictures with the sun in and the sun out. Plus, of course, it will change the exposure. So the sun's just gone back in again. So we can go click. A couple of clicks there. Click. 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 Don't have to be super precise with this, but as long as you get a good overlap, you should be fine. And then we're going to go for the next level up. And again, I'll just start here, just so I know I've got everything in that I need. There we go. Always better to get a little bit more in. The lens is at 20mm, so you know I could probably do this in less clicks if I had it at 10mm. Hopefully we won't get any bright skies. And again, it's always a good idea just to overshoot, particularly on the top row. It's a good idea to overshoot on the top row just to make sure you've got everything in. So we'll take those back indoors now, and we'll stitch those together, and hopefully, you know, we'll get a really good stitch on those. Brilliant. Let's see how we go.